Hi, it's Jordan Teen 1, and I'm back today to show you the next figure in my magnetic series. And so far I've only done animals, but today I'm going to show you how to make this cute little Santa for the upcoming holidays. So he does have a little white ball on the top. It's not quite all fitting in the screen. But he does have the magnets in his hands and his feet, so he will stick to anything that's metal. And of course, if you don't have magnets, you can definitely still make this little guy, and I will show you how to do it. So let me show you the package for the magnets that I am going to be using. They are called Super Magnets, and they're made by the Magnet Source. They are a little bit smaller than a dime, and they are ring magnets, so they have the hole in the middle for the bands to go through. And there is a warning on the package, extremely strong magnets, not for children, because they don't want the kids to get their fingers pinched in between the magnets. And the size is 0.375 inches for the outer diameter. You can find these online or possibly at your local hobby or home improvement store. You can make this figure using either the Monster Tail Loom or the Rainbow Loom, and today I'm going to be showing it on the Rainbow Loom. But if you are using the Monster Tail, you would just use these 6 pins in the shape of a rectangle. So let me just zoom this in a little bit closer here. And I also have a twisty tie here that I've just cut the plastic off of, and I'm going to be using this to thread the rubber bands through the magnets. And as far as the rubber bands go, I tried to give an accurate count, so hopefully I got it right or I'm just a few off. But for the skin color, I have the Rainbow Loom skin tone bands, and this is the more pinkish looking one out of the pack. And there are 26 of those. And then for red, I have 82. Black, there are 74. White, 102. And then one single yellow band that's going to be for the belt buckle. As I said, I'm going to be using the Rainbow Loom today, and I've removed the center row of pins here, and I've spaced out the blue connectors so I have a nice open area to work with. And the pins, the outer pins, are in line with one another, and you're just going to be working with 6 pins in the shape of a rectangle. So the first thing that we're going to be making is the boot and the leg. And I will show you what to do with or without magnets. So either way, you're going to start it out the same. You're going to take a black rubber band and you want to triple it. So you're placing it on your hook, twisting and putting it back on, twisting and putting it back on. So you'll see 3 loops on your hook. And then you want to take a second black band and then also triple this as well. So it's going on, twisting, going back on, and then one more time. So now you have 2 of these on here. And now you're going to take 3 more black rubber bands. Just put them all together. And you're going to get them on your hook at the end here. And then you're going to slide these tripled bands right onto there. So I'll do them one at a time. I'll grab the first 3 loops and slide those on. And then I'm going to grab 3 more and slide them on as well. And now what I'm going to do is get these other 3 loops here that are the other end of the ones that are on my hook and just slide them right back on. So that's actually going to be the toe part of the boot. And now I want to take 3 more black rubber bands. I'm taking them all at once, and I'm just going to grab them with the end of my hook, and now I'm going to slide this on. So what you can do is, since you have something to grab here, if you just want to pull out on these to make this opening a little bit bigger and just slide those on, it's probably the easiest way to do it. And then again, these 3 loops that are on the other end are going to go back on your hook. And now we're going to place this on the loom, and it's going to go from the left side over to the right. And I'll do this on the 4th pin up here from the bottom of the loom. So I want 3 of the bands to go over on the left. And now the other 3 are coming straight across and they're going to go on the pin over on the right. And now if you are not working with magnets, what you're going to do is take a black band, and over on the left here where we have the bands placed, you're going to take a band and stretch it diagonally up and to the right, and you do want to twist this. And then you're going to cross that, so you're going to the pin above and coming diagonally down and to the right and twisting. And then you're going to just do that one more time, so from the bottom left up to the right. This time there's no twisting. And then from the top left down to the bottom right. So that's what it's going to look like without magnets. And now let me just quick take these off, and I'll show you how to do it with magnets. So with the magnets, you're just going to get one of them apart here. So the best way is just to slide it off because they are pretty strong. And then you're going to take your twisty tie and slide it through the hole. And then you're going to take 4 black rubber bands. You want to get them all lined up on here. You want to make sure they're staying in front of the magnet. And now you're just going to bend the hook, or bend the twisty tie into a hook, and then you're just going to slide the other end through this hole in the magnet, and then carefully just pull it so that they're about halfway through, and then you can just release it. So the next thing you need to do is find both sides of each of the bands. So the easiest way to do that is just to find one of the bands on the one end and just gently pull, and then see which band is moving on the other side, so you know where the other end of it is. And once you see that, you want to pick up both sides there. And I'm going to put this on the bottom right on top of the other bands. So now I need to find both ends of each of the rest of the bands. So I'm just going to grab one of the bands here. I'll do it from the bottom, and I'll just gently pull to see which one's moving. And then I want to pick that up. Sometimes they're a little hard to get separated. And then that's going to go diagonally over here and to the left. Get both of those bands on. So I have 2 more to do. So again, from the bottom, it's going to grab one of the bands and then pull. I can see which one's moving here. Get that on my hook, and that's going to go down and to the left. And then finally, I have one more I'm going to grab from the bottom. It's kind of intertwined here. Grab the other end of it, and this is going to pull up and to the right. So sometimes they do get a little bit tangled with one another, and that's okay. Now, if you're working with magnets or not, it doesn't matter. From this point on, it's going to be the same. So you're going to take the bottom 3 rubber bands on the right-hand side here on the bottom right pin. So I'm just going to get all 3 at once and pull them over the top and into the middle. And then the same thing on the left here, taking the bottom 3, and they're coming over the top and into the center. So now you should have just 2 rubber bands left on all 4 of the pins. And now we're going to do 3 layers of black. They're going to be X's. From the bottom left to the top right is where we're always going to start. And then it's going to cross. So that's my first layer. And then you just want to remove that bottom rubber band. Just one single band from each of the pins. Push down. I'm going to do a second layer. And then remove that bottom band. Push down, and then one more layer of black. And now I'm going to do a layer of white. It's going to be that same pattern. And then remove one from the bottom. And now I'm going to do 4 layers of red. Again, same pattern. So that was the first one. And now this is the second. So this part's really not too hard. This is the third. And then one more time. And then we will be finished with the first leg. So now I want to take this off of the loom. So I'm going to take the 2 red bands on the bottom right pin, and I'm going to move them to the pin above. And then the same thing on the left here, the bottom 2 are moving up. And now the bottom 2 bands will come over the top and into the middle. And what I would suggest now is if you have 2 hooks, that you use your second hook to take this off of the loom and use it as a holding hook. But if you don't have 2 hooks, that's okay. You can just take it off, and then I would place it on a pen or pencil to hold it till we're ready to place it on the body. So I'm going to get a different hook here, and I'm just going to pick it up 2 bands on the right and then 2 bands on the left. Take it off, and you can adjust it. It's going to need to be adjusted a little bit. I would squeeze it in at the ankle, straighten out the toe. But you can see what it looks like here, a little foot that's going to be magnetic if you use the magnets. So I'm just going to set this aside. Now I'm going to make the second one, but I'm not going to film this just because I know this tutorial is going to get very long. So if you want, I will put the time in for you to go back to follow along again to make your other leg and foot. Now I have both of the legs and feet done, so I'm going to just set these aside. And the next thing that I'm going to show you how to do is the mitten and the arm. So for this, what you're going to do is take 2 rubber bands, 2 black bands, and we're going to triple them together. So I'm putting them both on the loom. I'm going to twist, put it back on, twist, and put it back on. So we've just tripled them all together. And now I'm going to take 4 black rubber bands, take them all at once and get them on my hook. It is going to be pretty full. And now I want to just slide all of these bands onto this here. I want it to go in the middle. And now I want to get this on the loom. So I'm going to have 4 loops on either side, and I want to spread them out over 4 pins. So I want 2 bands to go on the bottom left here. I'm still working on this 4th pin up. And then I want 2 more of the bands on the right hand side to go on the bottom right. They're going to go straight across from each other. This part's a little bit tricky to do. And now for the rest of the loops here, I want 2 on the left to go to the pin above, but I can't just pull them right now or the other side will go through, so I'll just hold those with my fingers, grab the other 2 loops, and then they're going to go to the pin above, and now these 2 that are in my fingers can go to that pin above. So we've just separated these out, so now the bands that we tripled together are just sitting in the middle. And so now if you don't have magnets, what you're going to do is put 2 layers of black on in the X shape. So it's just going to be from the bottom left to the top right, and then cross, and then another layer of black, so another X. That's without magnets. And if you're working with magnets, you're going to do the same thing that you did for the foot or for the boot. You're going to get your twisty tie and stick it in the middle. You're going to take 4 black rubber bands, slide them on. You're going to close this and then slide it through the hole in the magnet and carefully pull these on and release this. And now comes the tricky part of getting each side of the band together. So I'll just take one here on the right, gently pull. I can see it's the one on the top. Grab both of those, and I'm just going to go right on top of the ones we just did. So I'll start on the bottom right here, put those 2 on. And now I need to do that for the rest. I have to find the sides here. So I'm just going to grab one of the loops from the bottom and gently pull to see which one moves. Grab it and get both of those. I'll put them on the pin above here on the right. And I'll do it for the next one. It's a little bit harder because you have the black bands already on there that you're dealing with. So I'm going to pick up these 2 and I'll put those over on the top left. And then I have this last one. That one's easy because it's the only one left, and that's going to the bottom left. So now you should have 4 rubber bands on all of the pins, whether you have magnets or not. And what you're going to do is remove the bottom 2 from each of the pins. So I'm just taking them 2 at a time. This is going to make the tip of the glove. And now I need to do the finger part. So I'm going to take 1 black band and quadruple it. So it's going on, going twist and back on, twist, back on, and then one more time. So you'll have 4 loops on there. And now I'm going to take 2 black bands, both at once, get them on my hook, and I'm going to slide these 4 loops on. And again, they're going to go right about in the center. And then I'm going to put these across the bottom here, straight across from left to right. So 2 loops go on the left, and then the other 2 stretch across to the right. And now I'm going to loop the bottom 2 bands just from these bottom pins because there's 4 bands on, so I need the 2 to come off. And push down. And now I'm going to do 1 layer of black that's going to be an X from the bottom left starting. And now I'm just removing 1 single band from all 4 pins. And now I'm going to do a layer of white. Just 1 layer. And now I'm taking the bottom rubber band off. And now I'm going to do 5 layers of red. So again, it's just that X pattern. And you're only just removing 1 from the bottom every time. So that was 1. And now this is the second. and then a third. And now a fourth. And then one more time here. This is the last one to complete the arm. And now we want to remove it, so I'm taking the bottom two on the right and moving them up. And then also on the left. The bottom two bands come over the top. And then again, if you're using that second hook for holding, I'm going to take these feet and slide them up. And now I'm just going to take the two bands on the right. And if you want, you can hold these on with your finger as you're taking them off, just to be safe. And you can see then here's the mitten shape that has the magnet inside if you added that. And then I'm going to do the other arm and mitten. So again, I'm not going to show this on film, but I'll put the time on for you to go back to if you want to follow along again. I've now finished my other arm, so I have my arms and legs all on my holding hook here. And I'm going to just set these aside for now. And so I'm ready to start with the hat of the Santa. So I'm going to take 3 white bands, I'm going to put them all together, get them on my hook, and I want to triple these. So I'm just going to twist them all together, put it back on, twist, and put it back on. Whoops, I lost one. Make sure they all get on there. And then I'm going to take 4 white bands, and I'm going to get them on my hook. Again, they're going to be all together, and I want to slide all of these bands right onto there. So just make sure they all get on and get into the center. And now what I'm going to do is get this on my loom. So the same thing that we did when we were making the mitten, we're going to do with the hat. So I want 2 of the bands to go on the bottom left here, and then the other 2 from that side are going to go straight across. So I'm doing 2 on that side, and then the other 2 are going to stretch over to this side. And now I have 2 that are going to go at the top here on the pin above, and then the other 2 are going to go to the other pin above. So I'm going to hold them both at once, because if I pull them just one side, it's going to come through, and I don't want it to come all the way through. So now that I have that out like that, I'm going to take 2 more white bands, and this time they're going to stretch over all 4 pins at once. So I'll just get them over the left side here, and then I'm going to use my hook and I'll stretch it out so it goes over all 4. And then I want the bottom 2 to come off. So this is going to be like the little ball on top of the hat. And now I'm going to take 2 red bands, and I'm going to make an X, so from the bottom left to the top right. And then 2 more red are going to cross. And then once again, I want the bottom 2 white to come off. And I'm going to push that down. And now what I'm going to do is stretch these red bands out. So I want the top band here, just this top section on the top right, to move up. And then the same thing on the left, the top 2 bands are going to move up. And now I also want the top section of these lower bands to move up. Same thing on the left here, it's just the top part. So that way we're changing it from being only on 4 pins, we're spreading it out so that it's over 6 pins. And now I want to take 2 red bands at once. I'm going to put them straight across the bottom. And then 2 more across the middle. And then 2 across the top. And then I want to remove the bottom 2 bands. And I have to do the bottom section first, just because of how we stretch them out. The bottom 2 have to come off first. So they're just coming off and into the middle. And then I can do the top section. So now this way we've just stretched it out a bit. Now for this next layer, it's going to be red, and I'm going to start at the bottom right. I'm just going to trace around this rectangle. So it's just going to be 1 single band at a time. And now I want the bottom 2 bands to come off. Doing that for both sides here. And now I'm going to repeat that again. So I just want to trace around with single bands. And then again, it's the bottom 2 that are going to come off. Kind of push this all down. And now I'm going to do a layer of white. So it's going to be 2 at once, and I'm going to do these long X's. So it's going to start at the bottom left and stretch all the way up to the top right, skipping that center row. And now from the top left down to the bottom right. And then finally 2 more bands are going to just go straight across the center. And now the bottom 2 red need to come off. And I'm going to push this down. Now for the bottom of the hat, I want it to stick out a little bit. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to take 2 white bands and I'm going to get them on my hook, and I want to triple them together. So I'm twisting, putting back on, and then again. And then I'm going to take 2 more white, and these are going to slide on there. So we've done this a couple of times now. Slide right into the center. Whoops, I went a little bit too far there. And now these are going to go across the bottom pins. So 2 loops go on the left, and then the other 2 loops, whoops, didn't get them both on, and then the other 2 go on the right. And this just stays right in the middle there. Going to do that again. So I'm taking 2 together and tripling them. And then 2 more we're going to slide onto. Get in the middle. And then these are going to stretch across the top 2 pins. And now I'm going to do a layer of white that just traces. So starting on the bottom right, just single rubber bands this time. And now I need to remove the bottom, so on the corner pins here I'm actually going to have 4 to take off. So I'm going to do 2 at a time, and then I'll do the next 2. In the middle here it's just 2, And now on the end here it's going to be 4. Same thing on this side. I have 4 on the ends, 2, and then 4. So that's just going to make the hat be a little bit wider at the bottom. And now we're ready to add the peach bands for the face. So I'm going to start with 2 at once. And these are going to stretch around all 6 pins. So I'm just going to put them on the left. I'm going to stretch them over those 3. And it is definitely going to be tight. Now I'm going to just move these all the way over the rest of the 3. So now they're around all 6. And then the bottom 2 can come off. And just to let you know, when you have these bands stretched around the 6 pins, it gets tight. And when you're removing the bottom bands from this center pin, it does have a tendency to make this upper band want to come off. So I would suggest having it pushed all the way down to the bottom. So just take your time, especially with those center ones. And the same thing on this side. And push down. And now I'm going to do another layer of peach that's going to outline the 6 pins. So it's just single bands this time. And now the bottom 2 come off, and these are the ones that are stretched really tight, so just be careful. You're going to feel when you're taking them off that they're definitely tighter. And then on this next layer is where we're going to add the eyes. So what you're going to do for that is take your black band and you want to quadruple it on your hook. So you're just going to twist and wrap around until you have 4 loops. And then you're going to take a peach band and you're just going to slide these 4 loops onto the peach. Just one single peach. And then I'm going to do that again. So I'm quadrupling and then sliding it on. And then these are just going to do this tracing around the 6 pins, but the right side here is the front of the face, so that's where I'm going to place these bands with the eyes. And then I'll just continue to work my way around. And then back to the start here. And then again, it's 2 from the bottom. Now I'm doing another layer of peach that's outlining. So we're just about done with the face. We just have to add the nose after this. Now we're taking off the bottom. And now I want to add the nose. So for this, what I'm going to do is take a rubber band and quadruple it, just one single band. And then I'm going to take another band and I'm going to double this one. So it's just twisting once and getting back on. I'm going to slide that to the end and hold the 2 loops in my fingers. And now I want to slide this on here. Get all 4 of those loops on, and then put the other 2 loops that are in my fingers back on. So it is a little bit tight. And now I want to get the loops that are on my hook, these 4, onto this pin on the right hand side. And I want this nose part, this extra piece, to be sticking on the outside. Let me just turn this a little bit. And it's definitely going to be a little bit of a struggle because it is tight since that band is doubled. Getting all of those to go on, and I'm sliding this piece out to the outside here. And now what I'm going to do is reach down inside the middle here, and I'm going to push back on those 4 loops that I just placed on, and I'm just grabbing the bottom 2 here. I'm going to pull them up through. We'll make sure that they stay on your hook, and I'm just going to slide the rest of this nose section off of the pin, push it down inside, and now these 2 loops can go back on. So that's just attaching the nose there. So now I'm ready to do the beard, and again I'm going to add these little side sections to make it stick out a little bit further. So I'm going to take 1 single white band and double it, and then I'm going to take another one and double it, just leaving this on my hook, and then 1 more time. So there's going to be 3 in total, and then I'm going to take 2 more white bands, get them on my hook together, and then these 3 doubled bands are going to all slide on. So they're going to be a little bit looser this time. And now I want the 2 loops in my fingers to go on the left at the bottom, and then the other 2 here I'm going to stretch straight across and go on the right. I'm going to repeat that for the top section. So I'm doubling a white, and then a second white is getting doubled, and then a third. And then I'm going to take 2 more white, and all of these are going to slide on. Get them in the middle there. And now the 2 loops that were in my fingers are going to go on the top left, and the other 2 are going to stretch across to the top right. And all of these doubled bands are just hanging in the middle. That's going to make the beard nice and poofy. And now I'm going to add the next layer here. So it's going to be white on the sides and the front, but I have peach for the back since the beard doesn't go all the way around to the back of the head. So this time I'm going to do it just a little bit different. Instead of starting on the bottom right, I'm going to start on the bottom left with the white. And I'm just going to trace around it single bands. So it's going to be white across the front, and then white on the side here, or the top. And then across the back I'm going to do 2 peach. And now I need to remove the bottom rubber band. So on the corners here, you're going to have 4 since we added those side bands. So it's going to be 2 peach and then 2 white. And in the middle it's just the 2 peach. And at the top it's 4. And then that same pattern for the other side. And I'm pushing this all down. And now I'm going to add some more bands just on the front side, on the right side here. I'm going to take white bands and I'm going to double them. So on the bottom right here, I'm just going to double a white band and slide it on. And then the same thing for the center. And then 1 more for the top. And now what I'm going to do to get those on the bands here is the same thing the way that I did the nose. I'm going to push back on the top 2, grab the bottom 2, they're going to come up through, make sure to leave them on my hook, and I'm going to slide those other 2 white off, and the 2 that are on my hook go right back on. Doing the same thing in the center, pushing back on the top 2, the bottom 2 come up through, remove the other ones from the pin, and then the 2 on your hook go right back on. And then the same thing one more time with the top. Just getting those bottom 2 to come up through. And then release the others from the pin. And the 2 on your hook go right back. So I'm only doing that for the front side since that's the face. And now I'm going to repeat that same exact process all over again. So I'm doubling 3 separate bands and sliding them up on my hook. And then I'm taking 2 white, and these are all going to slide on there. And now that's going to stretch across the bottom. Just trying to make him have a nice fluffy beard. And then the same thing at the top here, doubling 3 times. And then they all slide onto 2. And they stretch across the top this time. Going to push that down because the pins do get full. And now once again, I'll start at the bottom left with white. It's going to be white on the sides and the front, or the right side here. And now the peach go down the left side. So I see these are my last 2 peach, so I know I counted those bands right. And now again, it's going to be 4 from the corners. Two from the middle. So he's definitely coming along here. We're almost done with the face. Now my loom's not going to sit flat anymore because his head's growing too long. I'm going to add those 3 bands on the right hand side here. So I'm just doubling a white and sticking it on. Doing that for all 3. And now I want to do that thing where I slide them on, so I'm, again, just bringing the bottom 2 up through. Just make sure they don't come off your hook, and then slide the other ones off and put them back on. Make sure that those bands stay down when you're doing that. You can see that one wanted to come up. You can see I'll just use my finger to hold this down in. And here's the last one. And now I'm going to take 2 more white, and this time they're going to stretch around all 6 pins. So I'm just going to get them over on the left, and then stretch them across to the right. Get those bottom 2 off. This is the very end of the beard and the head, so everybody can be happy. We've reached one of the milestones here. Push that down. And now I'm going to do 2 red at once. I'm going to make this long X from the bottom left to the top right. And then I'm crossing it. and then 2 more straight across the middle. And the bottom 2 whites can come off. Again, they are going to be tighter since we stretched this out pretty far. And you can see here, he's starting to take shape. So I'm now ready to get the arms on. So I have my holding hook here. And I want the thumbs to be facing in towards the body. So you can see here with the mitten, here's the thumb part. I'm going to put this one at the top. So 2 bands go over to the left, 2 loops here go on the left, and the other 2 are going to stretch over to the right. And now I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom here. So I'm going to take the thumbs and I want them to be more pointed inward. So I have these 2 loops over on the left and the other 2 stretch across to the right to make sure they both get on there. And now I'm going to do another layer before I actually do any looping. It's going to be red and it's just going to outline, so it's just those single rubber bands. So hopefully by now everyone's gotten the hang of the different rows. I know that they do get changed up here and there, but it's a lot of the same repeating patterns. So the bottom 4 will come off just on the corner pins here, and then 2 in the middle, and then 4 on the end. And same thing on the other side. Gonna push this down. And I'm gonna repeat that again. So it's still red and I'm just doing single bands. And now it's just going to be 2 from the bottom. And now this time I'm going to do a layer of black that's going to be the belt. So again, I'm just tracing around with single bands. And now the bottom 2 come off, so this time they're going to be all red. And I want the yellow to be a little belt buckle in the middle here. So what I'm going to do for that is the same thing that I did to make the white beard. I'm just going to double this yellow and place it on that pin. And then I'm going to reach down through the middle. I'm going to push back on the yellow, grab the 2 black, pull them up through, and then slide off this yellow. And then put the black right back on. And so now I'm ready to do another layer of red. Again, these are all just singles that are tracing around. And the bottom 2 come off. And I'm pushing all of this down. And now I'm at the bottom of his outfit, so I'm going to do white. And now the bottom reds come off. Now I'm going to do something similar to what I did to the hat to make it stick out farther. So what I'm going to do is take 2 bands and I'm going to put them on and twist them together. I'm going to triple them. And then I'm taking 2 more bands and these are going to slide on. And they're going to stretch across the bottom. And then repeat that again. I have 2 that are being tripled. And then they're going to slide onto 2 more white. And then they're going to go across the top. And now another layer of white that outlines. And then the bottom 4 from the corners. Two in the middle. And now what I'm going to do is do the same thing I did for the beard, where I'm going to double a band, and I'm just going to put 1 on each of the 6 pins. It's going to make the coat be a little bit more frilly at the bottom. So we're almost done here. And now again, I'm going to get the bottom 2 to come up through and leave that on my hook, and then the 2 on the pin come off. Sorry if my hands are in the way here. You might have to use your finger to hold them down. And now the same thing over here. Again, I'm having to push some of these down so I can see what I'm doing. And then here's the last one. Pushing all of this down. So the last thing I need to do is add the legs and feet. So I have them on my holding hook here. And I want the toes to be facing outward. So I'll start at the top here. You can see this is the toe part. So I want 2 of the loops to go over on the left. and then stretch the other two over to the right. Just came off my hook, but that's okay. And then over here, the toes facing outward, which actually is backwards for me, so let me just take it off, and I'll just work with my fingers. So 2 loops go over to the left, and then 2 over to the right. I need to add 2 more white bands that are going to stretch all the way around all 6 pins. I'm going to get that on before I do the looping, so I'm stretching it all the way across. And now I need the bottom 4 to come off the corners, and then just 2 in the center. Pushing this down. And now the last thing I'm going to do is move these into the center because we have to close it up. So the bands on the bottom right pin, be very careful, these are very tight and you don't want to lose them off your hook. You might want to use your other finger to hold this down in the middle. They're going to move up, and then the top 2 here are going to come down. And then the bottom 4 are going to come over the top. So it's just going to leave you with 2 bands on that pin. And now we're going to repeat that on the left, so the 2 at the bottom come up. And the 2 at the top come down. And then the bottom 4 come over the top. And then I have one last white rubber band that's going to stretch straight across the middle, and it's just singled, it's not doubled or anything. And now the bottom 2 come over on each of the sides. And now I want the right side to move over to the left. Bottom comes over the top, and then I can take this off, pull him out. I want to pull this nice and tight, really tight. It's going to make a slip knot. We don't want that to come apart. And now I do need to hide this, but first I'm going to see how my Santa looks. So he looks pretty good. He needs a little bit of adjusting. Have the little ball on the top of the hat. And then we made these side pieces here that you might need to puff out a little bit. And you can pull it up or down if you need to. And then here's his nose that probably will need to come out a little bit. And you might have to adjust his eyes. And you can play around with his little curly cues for his beard here. If you want to pull up on the neck at all, you can do that to separate it from the body a little bit. And then here we have his arms. And the legs here. You want to try and hide the red that you see through the white. Try and slide those bands over so they're a little bit more hidden. And then of course we made this puff out on the side too. You can adjust that. And so you have this loop here. So what you're going to do is just, if you see any red sticking through, this loop can help to hide that. So I'm just going to go through this red, and I'm going to pick up this loop, and I'll just pull it up through. And then I'll do that again, go down through, and wrap it around. So wherever you might need it to hide a little bit of the red, you can do that. me zoom out so you can get the full body view here. So here's the guy that we just made. And then here's the one I showed you at the beginning. I hope that everyone enjoyed making their cute little Santas for Christmas. I know it was a little bit of a complicated pattern, but hopefully you were able to follow along and your Santa turned out great. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook, post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page, and please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on my latest tutorials. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well. Thanks for watching!